Good morning. Market just opened and immediately tanked. But welcome. It's Wednesday, February 21st, and this is my live trade call. Now, I'm bearish on both the NASDAQ 100, also the S&P 500. S&P is pushing up a little bit, and NASDAQ is selling off. So honestly, it's headed towards our first TP. I love that. So yeah, we're just gonna wait and see. I'm waiting for price to pull up into this area to sweep liquidity. If it wants to, great. Then I'll be looking to sell. And same with NAS. Would love for price to pull up. It could be making 730. This could potentially turn into a 1 hour high that I'll mark out. But I have 31 or 29 minutes until this candle closes. So I will keep that in mind. Whoa. Oy. What the? And at this point, ladies and gents, we just sit and we wait. What I really love, so like I mentioned this yesterday, but during my post-market recap, live trade, also my pre-market analysis, is that I've spent the last few weeks refining my strategy and how I trade ultimately. Still using the same concepts, really. I just refined what I'm looking at, how I'm looking at it, and my entries and when I enter and the confluences that I look for. I hate to say that I changed my strategy because that's not, yes, I did, but I also just refined what I was already doing. So, but it's so much easier. Like I'm only looking for like 4 things. And if those things aren't met, then I'm not trading. And it's like just so black and white. Whereas before it was like, I had still had so many questions. Like I just wasn't confident in what I was doing and what I was looking for and at. And there were just so many, there was just so much gray area. It was like, it could pull into this, it could pull into this, it could pull into this. If it pulls into this, then look for this. But if it pulls into this, you want to look for this. And it was just like, it was too much for me to comprehend and to remember in like live conditions. So now I'm only looking I'm going to the 4 hour. I'll kind of just walk you through what it is I'm looking at and for and the reason behind it. I'm looking at the 4 hour for overall trend direction. Yes, I could go to the daily. Yes, I could go to the weekly, but the 4 hour gives me as an intraday trader, someone who's in and out within the day normally, who's in a trade for a few hours, maybe. This gives me more than I need to know in terms of direction for the day. So on the 4 hour, I'm use it as my daily bias. Now on the 1 hour, for example, today we're bearish on the 4 hour. Currently, we're bearish on the 4 hour. So if I drop down to the 1 hour, and if we are also aligned with the 4 hour bias of being bearish, then I'm looking at areas of liquidity that price can sweep to then make its move to the downside. Now, areas of liquidity are above the highs and or above the lows if you are in a bullish trend. But being that we're bearish on both the 4 hour and the 1 hour, I'm looking at areas of liquidity on the 1 hour for price to pull back into. So that's what I've marked out here. Really, if price does not pull into these areas of liquidity, and like I mentioned, this candle closes in 25 minutes. So this could be another high that I could mark, and price could drop a little bit lower, pull up and sweep it. So have to be paying attention to higher time frames. But I really use the 1 hour as like my, I don't know, it's like my bread and butter when it comes to liquidity sweeps, when it comes to take profits. Like the 1 hour is queen to me personally. So I drop down to the 1 hour and mark out those areas of liquidity. And then at that point, I scale down to the 5 minute because I take my entries off the 5 minute if the 1 hour and the 4 hour are in alignment. Wait for price to sweep one of those areas of liquidity. And until it does, I'm hanging out, not doing much, really just watching. And it feels good. It feels good to just wait for price to come to you, because beforehand, I don't know, I just had a lot more anxiety and like I was really anxious and I was like just chasing price a little bit. I had a strategy, but again, there were just lots of stipulations. So I dropped down to the 5 minute, and then from there, I wait for it to sweep one of these areas of liquidity. And normally, I will say this happens around like 30 minutes after the open. So for the first like 30 minutes, I'm kind of just chilling. And then from there, similar to the trade I took on ES, I won't show that because it doesn't really, there were some other things that went into account there. But I wait for price to sweep an area of liquidity. Boom. I wait for it to give me a break of structure in whatever direction I'm wanting to trade in. So right now we're bearish, so I would want a bearish break of structure. Normally, not even normally, if price breaks structure and gives me a fair value gap, then I'll wait for price to pull back into that fair value gap, giving a rejection, and then I'm in there like swimwear. And it's that easy. There are a few other areas that price can pull back into, like an order block or like the 50% mark of fibs or equilibrium, but it's so easy. It's like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And I'm done. And so I really like the refinements that I've made. And that's really it. That's really, really it. So I'm just going to be chilling, sitting, maxing, relaxing until price pulls into an area of liquidity. Or if in the next 20 minutes I can draw another 1 hour liquidity. Doesn't look like I can on ES, maybe on the NASDAQ. So stay tuned. I will update you on where we're at in a bit. All right, gang, bit of an update. We just had a hour candle close and a 4 hour candle close. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we're at. I think I'm just going to keep pausing the video whenever. I'm literally just waiting for price to do its thing because I've got things to do. I know we don't want this to be, a 2 hour long live trade session, which sometimes it could end up being. So just to help with time. But this 4 hour candle just closed and we are still in a downtrend on the 4 hour, even more like we're definitely in a downtrend because it closed below this low. So we like to see that. Still bearish there. On the 1 hour, still bearish on the 1 hour as well, but we just made a new 1 hour high with this candle closing. So price has another area of liquidity to sweep. It's a little bit lower, a little bit more likely. Price, we're on the S&P. You'll see on the NASDAQ that it dropped so low that it already took out our TP1. Um, so overall analysis or bias is still the same, bearish. I just wanted to draw this additional 1 hour area of liquidity that could be swept. And that's that. Still waiting for the exact same thing, for price to come up, sweep, give us a signal that it wants to sell lower, which would be a break of structure to the downside, along with one of those third confluences. Now, on the, I don't know if you just heard that. Like, I just had like a weird hiccup thing go on in my throat, and that felt really uncomfortable. Anyways, 4 hour, we are bearish on the 4 hour still, broke below this low. Love to see that. On the 1 hour, very similar to ES, we made another high here. So this could very easily come up, sweep this area of liquidity, and then give us a break of structure to the downside, signaling that it wants to go lower. It already took out our TP1, which was the low of yesterday. So I will actually mark out the low of today as TP1 if we get our, if we get our setup. But price is sweeping up to the upside already on the NASDAQ. So we will wait and see. Overall bias is still the same for both. So on ES, we just got a sweep to the upside. Close this. And what did I tell you? I told you that normally we see this at the 10 a.m. mark, 30 minutes after the open, and it is 8:04, which is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And would you look at that? We're getting some action. Oh, okay. The hell? I don't even think there's much. Nope, no news. Just price going to sweep liquidity. Okay. So on ES, price has swept this high that I just marked out. Honestly, just get rid of that. And has swept this high that we had marked out, which I believe was pre-market high. Yeah, this is pre-market high. Love to see that. I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, I want price to go a little bit higher. We'll see. We shall see. Oh, shoot. Boo. Yeah. Still want to pay attention to the higher time frames as well. Lots of moving pieces, lots of moving parts, but if you just jump around from time frame to time frame just to be cognitive of what's going on. And that's where we're at right now. If price decides that it wants to give us a break to the downside, then we'll be in there. Well, not immediately, but we'll see. All right, gang, let's take a look. So price swept liquidity of these 1 hour highs. We know that. Price is currently, we just, this candle still has 3 minutes left to close. So don't want to speak too soon, but this is a low. Price is currently under that low. If this low breaks, then we will have a break of structure to the downside, which means 2 of our steps have been completed, a liquidity sweep and a break of structure. Again, we still have 3 minutes till this candle closes, so we will see. Same exact thing on NASDAQ, except for NASDAQ only swept this hourly high, whereas S&P swept the hour, like 2 hourly highs. But same exact thing. We got a low right here. If price breaks below this low in the next like 2.5 minutes, then we will have 2 of the steps completed, liquidity sweep and a break of structure. This is so crazy to me because I have not taken a trade, obviously, because I just walked you through what it is we're looking at. And it's been an hour after market open. When I tell you that me a month ago, I definitely would have taken a trade by now. I mean, the market hasn't really done that much. So like I maybe would have been stopped out or maybe just like still in a trade. But it is so crazy to me how much progress I've made. Like I'm chilling. If I don't take a trade, then I don't take a trade. Like my mindset has completely altered and shifted. I cannot express that enough, to be honest. I will say though, I have a Pilates class in 90 minutes, so I hope that price is able to give me something in the next 90 minutes at the very least. But until then, oh my gosh, I'm checking my emails right now and it's a mistake because it's just so much. Calendar, let's see. Yeah. This is looking fairly good though. Looking fairly good. So we will see what price wants to do in the next 60 seconds. Okay, look at that. We have got a break of structure to the downside on the 5 minute on ES as well as NASDAQ. So with this, depending on how this candle closes, like this is what I'm talking about, patience. Like it's like 5 minute intervals, which 5 minutes is not a long time, but 5 minutes in the market can sometimes feel like a eternity. But I refuse to take trades on the 1 minute. I don't even know what I'm looking at on the 1 minute, to be honest. I mean, I do, and I will if what was I gonna say? I will use the 1 minute if I want a better entry. I will say that. But in terms of like what's going on right now, like it's too early to even think about going down to the 1 minute. So depending on how this 5 minute candle closes, this could be a fair value gap. If that is the case, I'll be waiting for price to pull back into the fair value gap and or the order block as well. Same thing with ES. If price closes or whatever, however this candle closes, this can be marked as a fair value gap. But until then, I will not mark it. Price is like telling a story, if you will. It's like, I know, really not that deep, but it kind of like is telling a story because I was just thinking internally in my head, I was like, honestly, like it's been an hour. I could have woken up like 30 minutes later. But then I wouldn't have had the whole story. Like I would have had the whole story, obviously, because like I can see what I can see now. But like I wouldn't have been with Bryce the entire story, if that makes sense. It's really not that deep. But in my head, I'm like, you know what? Like, no, I woke up when I woke up and this is it. Like my mind does that sometimes. I'm like, it's coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like we're here now. We did it. We're disciplined. Like it is what it is. It's like my mind wants to keep me small, which is kind of disrespectful, actually. But talking out loud, talking to you really helps me come to terms with a few things, that being one of them. Okay, we've got 2 minutes until oh my God, until this candle closes. So we'll wait and we'll see. All right, so here we are. Price closed, leaving us a fair value gap on this 5 minute. This is on NASDAQ. Price, I drew out the scan box here from the high to the low. This isn't a certified low, but we have 1 minute until this candle closes, and if it does, then this will be a certified low. Price pulled above the 50% mark, which was also in alignment with the fair value gap, and filled it. Now it's giving us a little bit of rejection. I would use the 1 minute. Let's see. It just depends. I'm gonna wait a second. Basically the same thing on ES, except for it didn't pull back into the 50% mark of the GAN box. If price closes below this low, then, which is kind of low. So now on ES, price has pulled into the scan box here, which is the quote unquote discounted price, which is also in our fair value gap. This purple line right here is the start of the order block as well. Now I just want to see rejection out of this area, some bearish rejection. I scale down to the 1 minute if I see a break of structure to the downside on the 1 minute, then that translates into rejection on the 5 minute more times than not. But it just really depends on if it's worth it, if how low the low is on the 1 minute, if that makes sense. Like right now, the low on the 1 minute is right here, which is like really pretty low. Got 3 minutes until that candle closes. Okay. I am going to take a I'm in a sell on, what is this? ES? And then put stops above the liquidity sweep. And then I'll worry about my TP in a second, because I potentially want to also get in here. I mean, is it really necessary to take two of them? I mean, I am paper trading, so it really doesn't matter. I'm on a sell. I'm in a sell on NASDAQ. Stop loss will be above the liquidity. Whoa. I don't know what happened there. Sell will be above the liquidity sweep. TP. Let's go down to the 4-hour. My final TP is down here, but that's kind of a long ways away. So I'm looking for potentially... My God, this is insane. I mean, it's still really low. Oh, I'm like, where am I? Yeah, I mean, TP is rather... To fill in this imbalance, I'm kind of just going to move these up. I'm going off the 4-hour. It's just weird that the 4-hour gave better TP levels than like the 15-minute, but that's where we're at. So I'm actually going to move TP. This is TP1. I'm going to move it to TP2 just because I have a bit of a higher... I'm actually going to put it at TP1. The risk to reward is awful though, so I'm actually going to move my I'm moving my stop loss. I mean, I'm not going to move my stop loss only because again, this is me trading on paper right now. So it is what it is. Normally, I would put my stop loss above this liquidity sweep. Like that's a part of my strategy, stop loss above the liquidity sweep. So although it looks crazy right now, actually it's not that. I'm so bad at math. Like terrible at it. I need to get the measurements right, but I'm going to keep my stop loss there because once I have all the calculations down packed, that won't really matter. Like the the risk to reward will be factual. And then take profit is just down here at TP. I'm going to move it down to TP2 depending on how it's reacting at TP. Just depending on how the market moves. We'll see. That's where we're at. Go drop back down to the 5 minute. Currently in a little bit of drawdown on NAS. Now, let's come over to ES. Also in a little bit of drawdown. My stop loss is nowhere near as psychotic as NASDAQ. TP1 is just going down to the low of yesterday, which I think is a great TP. Because, my God, what the hell? When was that? Tuesday? God damn. Oh yeah, and then we have these large 15-minute fair value gaps. So same thing. I'm going to move it to TP2. Seeing how it wants to move and operate will give me a good idea of if I want to move it or not. This risk to reward is far better. It's like a 1 to 2 point something. I'll get better. Let's actually just calculate it right now. Not me not knowing how to calculate this. I'm embarrassed. Yeah, it's like a 1 to 2.4, 2.3, 2.38 to be exact. Okay, we're just going to come back in here. Auto fit. Oh my gosh. Kind of got a lot of stuff going on. This is TP1. Let us not forget. Price is pushing back into this fair value gap a bit. Again, our order block is here, so keeping that in mind. Same thing on NAS. Pulling back into this what is it called? Fair value gap. So now we sit and we wait and we see what happens. Where are we at? Okay, so at this point, either I get stopped out or my take profit gets hit, but I'm going to do a little time lapse on this. Maybe put a little music behind it, make it fun, make it interesting, make it cool for you to view and watch. We'll keep it on NASDAQ for now. I'm either stopped out or I'm in profit. What do you think it is? Place your bets. Place your bets. We'll see. have officially been stopped out of ES, and we're not stopped out of NASDAQ quite yet, but honestly, I should just cut my losses. That indeed wasn't the accurate liquidity sweep. Sorry, I'm eating an apple, of all things. So that's that. Price wanted to switch up on us this morning is what it looks like. Ain't no thing. Ain't no thing. And with that, lads, I mean, I think I'm done for the day because this candle went bananas, sweeping more liquidity to the upside. This candle just opened 15 minutes ago. Also, it's 11. I mean, at this rate, I think I'm just going to cut my losses. Again, I'm not stopped out quite yet on NASDAQ. I'm not going to toy with it at all either because what's the point? This is just paper trading. Right now we're inside of our order block. So we'll see, but I guess I'll let this play out. I'll let this play. And we'll see if it stops me out. It stops me out. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. So, stopped out of ES, still in NASDAQ. Still bearish on all time frames. So, I'm going to stay in here and see what wants to happen. Okay, so remember when I told you I had Pilates in 90 minutes? It's been 90 minutes. So I am logging out currently. I'm still in this NASDAQ trade. Honestly, at this point, we're making higher structure on the 5 minute. Haven't broke structure on the 15 minutes. On the 15 minute, we're still bearish. The 1 hour, we are still bearish. The 4 hour, we're obviously still bearish. So I've got no reason to exit this trade. The 5 minute shows otherwise, but whatever. I'm going to stop this now, though. In my post-market recap, you'll see how this trade played out. But thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Love you. And I hope you found this as maybe less chaotic as yesterday's. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. I'm interested to know how you did today. If you took a loss, if you took a win, are you even trading? Like, spill the tea. I'm giving you the tea now. You have to spill the tea to me too. Okay, gotta go. Love you, and I'll see you at my post-market recap that I will be sharing later today.